Pleasure to, and a great sense of humility that I accepted the invitation to be part of this special occasion in honor of one of the most vulnerable members of our society, that is people living with disability. Amen. May I, from the beginning, acknowledge that, as the program director said, acknowledge that we are gathered here just on the second day of August, the month that is so important, an important month in the calendar of South Africa, where we recognize the value of all our women in our country. Happy Women's Month. May we just clap hands for the women of South Africa. If one is to borrow from the well-known poet, author, Maya Angelou, may her soul rest in peace. You recall that she passed on May 2014. When she speaks about women, she once said, "A wise woman wishes to be no one's enemy. A wise woman refuses to be anyone's victim." And we want to say, shame to those who abuse our beautiful women. Similarly, women and men living with disabilities have got the right to live in a safe environment, free from any form of discrimination, segregation, and debate. On this front, I do acknowledge the current work done by various organizations and activists under the banner of WHO, that's World Health Organization, who are contributing a lot in terms of advancing and advocating the rights of people living with a disability. You might be also aware of the existence of the World Program of Action concerning persons living with a disability, and of course many organizations within our country, national and local, who are so committed to advance the cause of the empowerment and emancipation of people living with disability. For this, yourselves, you are important members of society, and hence you are entitled to the same rights as all of you are entitled to the same rights as all other human beings and equal opportunities. You are not as second-class citizens. You are truly citizens of this beautiful land of ours, irrespective of what form of impairment that you may have, that has either a substantially short or long-term adverse effect on your ability to carry out normal day-to-day activities. Friends, I was given the topic, I think was it last night? I think it was last night, confirmed this morning. But I said, when it comes to yourselves, I'll drop whatever I was doing in order to come and honor this noble invitation. And it was quite difficult to say no, because the caller had all, the way of presenting the case, and I did accept, like I said. But when I looked at this topic, step out of your comfort zone. At first, I wasn't so sure as to what is it that I'm going to share with you tonight, until I had to come to the understanding of the main key word in your topic, which is comfort. When I checked in the Oxford Dictionary as to what this comfort means, I came to understand that the word is referred to as pleasant state of ease and relaxation. So I said, okay. There is a topic that says we need to come out of the situation where we feel at ease, where we feel we are so relaxed. Why? Because we would like to be recognized, to play the meaningful role, both from economic terms as well as in our social lives. And for the reason that we are living in a country, we are now part of the globe. It's no longer a very enclosed environment. It's not only about your life. It's not about being a resident or a taxpayer of where are we? Is it Thulamela? Thulamela, the newly established one. What is the other one on the other side? Collins Tawani, or the defunct Mutaren, or the main district as such. So you shouldn't be looking at to say, at the end of my studies, when I'm done, I need to be locally based. Yes, it's good so that you can plow back your knowledge here, but you can fly. You can go anywhere because the world is open. And I heard one of your colleagues saying that we are so special, and therefore what you have cannot be limited, but the type or form of impairment that you might have. So the world is open for you. You can go out and shine. When I was working in Australia, in the western side of Australia, that's Perth. My role as the senior vice president for talent management globally for a company called Goldfields. One of the issues that I've learned was about it doesn't matter, like I said, where you come from. But one night when we were all done, we were just going for, some of the colleagues were just going for a drink. And one, in a jest, but I almost took an offense. But because men are men, then I said, no, look, let me understand it. He said, we were passing by one building and, the lights were still on. And he said, in Australia, we don't work overtime. And said, my friend, that could be maybe a South African that is working there. Because when the time requires one to work during normal times, we've got this tendency of not working and wants to work overtime. Of course, Mood. So I said, no. You need to change your stereotype, because I'm a South African, proud South African. I might be here working in Australia in Perth, but that does not change who I am. So I'm proud of being a South African. So you need to be proud of being a person that is living with disability, and you owe nobody an apology for that. So, given this short time that I was given, I gathered some energy to understand the topic so that at least I can be relevant to this presentation. And I'm fully aware that it's a gala dinner. It's not about the real conference. But I'll try to scan out things that are prepared for you. And I said, let me understand this topic. How can we help to step out of the zones, the territories, spaces, partitioned areas of domicile, characterized by false and disguised comfort? I'm carefully using the word we, as I'm part of the society, the very environment which continues to marginalize people living with disabilities. Whether I'm conscious or unconscious, it doesn't matter. It's immaterial. The point is that something has got to be done. Something has got to change. Change for the better. And friends, the change practitioners would always argue that for a true change or transformation in one's life to happen, it has got to start from the individual himself or herself. So, for that to happen, it has got to start from inside the person. So hence, the rest of what I'm going to share with you, I'll be focusing more on the inner individual. But I had to pose some two questions to myself as I was busy going down with the preparation of this address. Can we really say we are living in comfort? Please, do not mix with the report that the former PP, the public protector, that's Thuli Madonsela. You remember that report, which was secure in comfort? Do you remember that? About Nkanda. So don't confuse what I'm saying. Secure in comfort. I'm not talking about the recent one. For she has got more than problems on her plate. Can we really say, friends, we are living in comfort, where the majority of our people in our country, in particular the people who are living with disability, still face more acute barriers, non-access to medical services, and very often get services as an afterthought, if lucky. Did you hear that? Many times we are being thought of as an afterthought. Oh, by the way, there are people who are living with disabilities. When the transformation initiatives began in the early 80s, I happen to have been fortunate that when the Employment Equity Act was promulgated, I was part of the working group. At the time, Sipho Pichana was still the Director General. And we were advancing to say it has got to be what you'll see. It says these HDSA, historical disadvantaged individuals, are black, colored, Indians, and said what, and people with disability. Why don't you start with historical disadvantaged people, people with disability, and you mention the rest? Something has got to change. And who has got to change? If we remain silent, we have got to influence policy. These days, there is this buzzword that is now moving around. It talks about, you hear that? Fourth Industrial Revolution. We've got now to raise up and influence that policy and ask to say, where are we going to be accommodated? And if they cannot define it, we define the policy framework for them. And who else can do better? It's ourselves. We've got intellectual capabilities that we can do that. We can change from South Africa, from this part of the province, Vembe in particular. Friends, life is a journey. That's the first point that I want to share with you. Life is a journey. If anyone, or rather anyone who intends or aims to undertake a journey must get prepared thoroughly. In the olden days, when we used to go to Gauteng using the train, you had to make sure that at least you've got a part course. You know part course? Because you are undertaking a journey. No successful journey can start without a destination in mind. So what does it mean? It means that before you can even get into the car or whatever mode of transport that you are going to engage in, you've got to have the destination in mind. Don't be like what is happening with our young brothers and sisters now. When you drive around here, you get to see. You see what the gesture. You driver you just have to stop. And that's part of the social ills that our country is faced. I'm just giving that as a typical example. And when you stop, you ask, where are you going? The answer will be to the destination where you are going. Yes. 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 So we should not be like that, friends. We have got to see the future 3 to 4 years in advance through the eyes of today. How I wish if I had an opportunity to draw, I was going to show you some of the models that one used as I was moving throughout the globe, throughout the continent. Coming from Hamasia, having attended a high school where there was no electricity. My first test with electricity, or my experience with electricity, was when I was at the University of Venda, Block C to be specific, on the other side. The room was C6. But I never accepted that I'm of lower quality. It could have been like that, but I appreciated the background that I was coming from. And it should be also serve as a motivation for you, that you can step out of that comfort, which I say it's not even a comfort zone, given what I've just shared with you. So when we are to embark on a journey, we need now to define, see what is going, where I want to be. You should be saying, I'm already an MD, or for those who are doing, who are following the accounting side, I'm about to finalize my board exam to become a chartered accountant. You say it now. And what is left, it will be a question of saying, how do I get there? In terms of shaping up your future, we start these days by why, not what. Why you define the business case. Why are you embarking on this journey? What makes you to embark on this journey? And I think it will make yourself to be relevant in so far as, putting the actions together. Then you will not be able to veer off of what you want to achieve. What is your journey? What do you want to achieve? Maybe you want to build a career, and I guess that is the reason why you have enrolled for university studies at University of Venda. Secondly, your dream might be to get a job. I guess it is many people's dream, but I'll come back to this one on this item of looking for jobs. Given the current economic meltdown of this country, unemployment rate, did you pick up this week that your unemployment rate has skyrocketed at 29%?
Yes.
How many, before you, who have graduated? The last time I thought, when I was still in the mines, the data bank of graduates was far surpassing 600,000 graduates who do not have employment.
Yeah.
And what do? We do not have limited capacity in terms of intellectual and otherwise. So we've got to say, when we are trying to plan the journey, I think the question of saying, once I'm done with my studies, I want to be employed, maybe it could be a few, but the first will be to say, I want to create a job. I want to do something that is going to change my situation, to change the surroundings, to change the village, and to change the country at large. And I get recorded to say, once upon a time, during these difficult times, there was a group of young talents from South Africa who defied the odds of the economic meltdown. And who defied the shackles and the harshness of the economic meltdown and make a difference. And what more would it be if it is quoted to say this work has been done by people with disability? That is going to be a cherry on top of a cake.
Amen.
Friends, we have reached a crisis situation in this country, and the platform is burning. The platform is burning. No one can stand on a burning platform. Hence, it is not a common zone. It's not a comfort zone anymore. Did you hear that? The country, it's faced. I mean, for those that might have got the feedback from NetLeg yesterday, it has been confirmed that we are in serious crisis. There's no more comfort zone. No amount of grants, no amount of SASSA special programs, no amount of what I call it EPWP can mitigate the effects of the economic crisis that we have. That should be the reality that indeed we need to come out of this comfort zone. You step out of this comfort zone. And you might have heard so many times many change practitioners, when they speak of the jargons that we are so used to, change management, coming out of the comfort zone, but many talk about the burning platform. And I just want to share with you the history of this burning platform. Where did it come from? This burning platform, it originated, or it came as a result of the explosion that took place somewhere in 1988. It was at a plant in the north shore of Scotland, at a plant, Piper Alpha. You know, it's a drilling, oil drilling plant, which happens. I mean, you'll see the plant right inside the ocean. So lifted with the steel and the like. So what happened then was that that explosion, when it took place, the workers who were there, unfortunately about 166 of them perished in that explosion. So when it happened, some of them were trying to hide within some of the rooms around right on top of that plant. Unfortunately, they were hoping that perhaps maybe the fire that had already started, the flames that already started will burn out, or the emergency services will kick in. Unfortunately, none of the two did take place, and they were faced with certain death. So what happened? Two of them walked out of the Shall I continue? I'm quite sensitive. When I'm talking, I pause and said, let me wait until you give me signal to say, should I continue?
Use the signal.
Okay, that's just who I am. All the areas, companies that I worked for, it's just who I am. So when they realize that things are bad, I'm talking about where did this burning platform originated. So when they came out, one of the people that were there, his name is Andy Mochen. He's the one that related this story on the bedside. He said, when they looked, the explosion, the waves of the flames were about 90 meters high. It could be viewed and seen about 100 kilometers away. It was quite a huge explosion. So they were stopping on the edge of a platform, faced with two options. Either to jump or to stay. If the two of them decided to stay, they were going to be fried by the fire. But they had to look into the edge. It's water, it's about 15 stories and going into the freezing water. So he said they decided to jump, and that's why it has been phrased to say the platform was burning. And that's why in change management, when we talk about change management, when we talk about the art of speed in change management, one of the things that get referred to is to say burning platform. So nobody can stand on a burning platform. You've got to move. You've got to get out of that burning platform so that, or else you fry. So he was faced with a certain death. He said he chose possible death over certain death. Possible death was to say, should I take a dive? Perhaps, I heard somebody talking about ancestors. Perhaps ancestors or whoever he or she believes in could come to aid. And because of the temperatures of the waters, they could only, because of freezing temperatures, they could only live for about 20 minutes or so. But they took that option. And guess what? That was the best option of possible death over the certain death that the fires were going to consume them. And Andy has been known for all this to say, the price of staying on the platform was too high. And I will say to you, the price of staying in your comfort zone is too high. Are we together? You've got to make a choice. And choice is not about what my friend is making, it's about individual choice.
Amen.
For you are the one that has got to live with the consequences of your choices, bad or good. So that's what we, this whole issue about burning platform it's all about. And if we are to continue, colleagues, with the whole issue around you guys moving, or we, as I said, we are going to use we talk about stepping out of the comfort zone. We need to appreciate, in fact, that there is no or little comfort to talk about. In life, there are times where we experience feeling of being stuck. Have you ever experienced that? A feeling of being stuck, a feeling of unmotivated, a feeling of uninspired, a feeling of hopeless, a feeling of saying, why am I still alive? Unfortunately, a feeling of saying, do I still have a purpose of living? And I want to say to you, God has created you for a purpose, and you've got to find a way to live a purpose-driven life. Don't give up. These feelings are often perpetuated by the hostile environment we find ourselves in. And I'm just going to share with you a few. The hostile environment that we find ourselves in. I'll talk about family. And I'll make a disclaimer that not all families are hostile to ourselves as people living with disability. There are those that have shown love to us. There are the families who never hit us when we were young. There are those who never felt ashamed to say, this is my daughter, this is my son. And they were so proud to have us.
Amen.
And I need to put that disclaimer. However, the families could be hostile to us as people who are living with disability. Some of them view us as a burden. Some view us as the people that would not have a role to play. And I think I will argue that even some of our African practices almost destroyed, thanks that activists and yourselves have stood the ground to fight this anaconda. Because when I talk about African practices, when a baby girl is born, you hear this father say, she's born with disability. That means that I'm not going to get money for lobola. Who told him that you, my sisters, you are a commodity to be traded about?
Amen.
You are not a commodity. You are an asset. An asset when God views you. He sees to say in his creation, for those that were coming from the Christian faith, he found that you were beautiful, and you are beautiful. Still on the family as the hostile environment. When a baby boy is born, you hear your father to say, oh, a baby boy with disability. Who's going to sustain? Who's going to what is the word that I've used? There's a word that I want to share with you. Who's going to inherit my surname? As if that surname is so special. If the surname is about Trump, I would rather live with my name as Adam rather than to use a family similar to the Trump surname. After all, somebody said, who's going to inherit? Because this baby son is born with disability. I'm not going to inherit my surname. Anyway, some surnames are not even worthy to inherit. Especially those who are coming, surnames of the fathers who were absent when we grow up. Yeah. But when you become somebody, they come say, oh, give one naga. For what? Gracious me. I give a rule. You are going to need 9. I appreciate that God made use of you so that I can be. But I belong to the Creator. And I will shine for his benefit. Let's look into society. Society can also be a hostile environment. And society which views us as a second-tier citizen. We are not. We are being, we are being confined to a particular territory, not to mix with the rest. Some attack subject to the evil beliefs. And I would like to address this. These evil beliefs by some of the barbaric members of society who think that we people who are living with the disability, especially our colleagues who has got a pigment of albinism, thinking that instead of being a proper business person, coming with the strategies and marketing your business, you tend to think that we can be the source of power to make sure that your business thrive. We're saying shame on you. We are not. We are not the tool. Go and do your business plan well and market your business, and don't rely on us. We belong to the Creator.
Yes.
Another point, another hostile environment is employment. I was fortunate to have been part of the employer. I sat in different boards. I worked in different organizations. When I joined Anglo American in 2000, when was that? It's quite a long way. I happened to be given the role of being Group Transformation Manager, based in 555 Marshall Street. One of the challenges that employers face, they always, value us. I wouldn't even say value, but because there are requirements, legislative requirements, you hear that there is employment equity targets, there is HGSA representation target, so that at least they can still have the license to operate the business. So in other words, we were not considered as the people that can contribute to the bottom line of the business, but we were just being given periphery jobs. In the olden days, if you are a person with disability, you were going to be stationed in the administration to check the in-tray and the out-tray. I'm an administrator. You are not born to be an administrator. You are born to be a maverick in a business, to bring about strategies that are going to turn around the business. If there's one employment opportunity that I hate with passion, is the call center. The call center set up where in majority, people with disability, you will find them as a pool. And I'm saying it's a hostile environment. And hence, we've got to turn things around in order to come out of this. You said it's comfort. I'm saying it's not comfort. You cannot be comfort.
Never.
Likewise, we are just being given the so-called jobs and with no responsibility. We can. In any sphere, yes, in other sectors like mining going underground, like all other that are governed by certain legislation. But it doesn't mean that you cannot be a mine planner, you cannot be a metallurgist, you cannot be an electrician sitting and doing the planning. You can be whatever you want to be, but it's only when this hostile environment are well catered for. Lastly, the government. And we're no longer talking about access. When you hear about access to, to facility, to amenities, now build the ramps and the like, we're talking about substantive issues. I hope Comrade Lamola is going to, because I think he's got some oomph and some vavavum. I think he's shown that. I would like to see a situation where there's even special courts that are going to look into, to attend the issues, the transgressions that affect people with disability. And legislations, like I said, not only to be defined, only to meet the minimum requirements to acquire the BEE certificate. How many of you, have you checked yourselves, how many of you have been registered as directors of certain companies and you're not even getting any remuneration or rather returns on the so-called shares that you have in those companies? Many of you, either by own family members or by some friends. No, companies in particular Zao. You will only be seeing when the company goes down, when they're to file for insolvency. That, oh, I didn't know that I'm a director. Is that not real, friends? Check. I'm coming to almost the last page.
Thank you.
Guys, you need to rise up. Given the above examples that and many that you might add, the plight of people with disabilities is not going to change unless we ourselves rise up and get our voices heard and influence the government, the economic players in their policies and the plans. I've already talked about the issue of fourth industrial revolution. And I would like also to draw some wisdom from Maya, who said, never make someone a priority when all of you are to them is an option. Did you hear that? The first person that I need to satisfy is me. Because the others, they only consider us as an option. Just like what I've shared the story with you on the explosion on the accident. Either you jump or you get fried. In political circles, you know about what happened. The activism and resistance were sustained for a period of decades and centuries by organized civil rights movements and liberation movements. In America, you know the civil rights movements that the likes of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. led, and the Malcolm X and many others. In South Africa, we know about the liberation movements, a struggle that were led by the likes of Madiba, the likes of O.R. Tambo, the likes of Robert Sobukwe, Steve Biko, Charlotte Maxeke, Lillian Ngoyi, and many others. Most of them were at the center of their arsenal. The weaponry that they used was education. And hence Madiba, the most known quote from Madiba that says, education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world. And I guess that's why you all of you are sweating and ready. Changes start with me. The first step to move out of the comfort zone starts with me, with you. I like this quote, friends. If I'm not good at myself, now how can I expect anyone else to be good with me? It starts with me. And I'm aware that you may not control all the events that happen to you. But what is important, friends, you can decide not to be reduced by them. That's your choice. And don't blame anyone. You've got the power. And I want, if your questions to say, how do I do that? Where do I start? 5 things that I want to conclude, and then we're done. First, if the questions to say, how do I do that? How do I come out of that comfort zone? I would say the first thing that you need to consider is self-affirmation. Self-affirmation, you should be able to say, rather, you should light your inner fire. You should light your inner fire. And you should be able to say positive words like this. I was born for a purpose.
Amen.
I'm not a clone of anyone else. And you're not a clone of anyone else.
Yeah.
I'm proud of my uniqueness. And this is very important that I'm going to say. I love myself and I am beautiful.
Yeah. Yes.
Can you say that I love myself? I am beautiful. You don't have to wait for somebody else to define who you are.
Yes.
And when all is said about this self-affirmation, you say, I am a winner.
Yeah.
Can you say, I am a winner?
I'm a winner.
The second one, self-branding. This is very important. Self-branding.
Self-brand.
I like that. With full of life. I'm a product of Bantu education. The teacher will just say, all of you, I say, all of you. But you come from the model C. But let's be serious, colleagues, and then we find out. The second important, if you ask to say, how do I come out of this situation? And I'll say one of the tools that you need to have, it's your self-branding. The question is to say, do you have a brand? Do you have a brand? I've got my own brand. It's me. When I went all over, I mean, when I went to Rio de Janeiro, they were talking about Portuguese. I said, I can't speak Portuguese, but if you've got friends in Mozambique, then we can talk. I happened to find somebody. So, oh no. Well done. I will define on this branding. Branding is so important, friends. I will define who I am and the role I need to play in various spheres of life. I'm responsible to design as who do I want to be known about and for. And leaving it to someone else to describe who I am, I'm not going to do that. And this is very important, and you know it. I don't like anyone to pity me. Can you say that? I don't like anybody to pity me.
I don't like anybody to pity me.
Anyone that says, oh, shame in the love, politely as a responsible citizen, explain to say, look, I think you need to be enlightened about realities of life. And offer your service free of charge to empower such a person so that he can understand better people living with disability. Branding is very important. Create the life you always have. This is very important. Create the life you have always wanted. If you said if you already have a brand, I would advise you to be consistently alive to the need to assess and evaluate if it's still relevant as the situation changes from time to time. If you don't brand well, I know the investor vendor has branded itself, I think 3 times now. The very first when we started, the caption was that thing of say knowledge is precious. And it changed. I think there was a time when he said a University of Vendor for Science and Technology. And things moved. And I don't know what you said, what growing, what do you call yourself? Huh?
Creating future
You
leaders.
see, I'm an alumni for it, but I can't put this thing. But all I know, if the leadership of Mbati, who has gone, is Mbati, whatever. If the leadership of that time did not embark on the rebranding of this institution, you are going to be history in terms of competitive advantage. You know what happened to your faculty of accounting science some time ago? Remember?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
There were no universities, especially the examination boards, who were accepting the qualifications of accounting from University of Venda for some time.
Yes.
I'm not so sure whether you have come out of that rehabilitation. So we've got, for those that might know, if you don't rebrand, there was a company called, many months ago, called Kodak. Kodak used to be,
We know it.
you know it?
Yes.
Go and read about it. It died and it faced extinction like dinosaurs
No one.
because they could not read the change. If the pace of the change in the environment is faster and surpasses the change in you, there are problems. You might find yourself in the ICU. And you know what that, if you are in that unit, be ignorant of the fact of rebranding. You do it at your own peril. You've got to rebrand. Second last, overcome your fears. Fear is the most stumbling block for many of us. It stands between our success and failure. In many instances, fear is a cousin to words like, oh, I can't. It's also a cousin to the words like, it is beyond my reach. Yes, to have fear is normal. Some will say, if I fail, what will people say? That's none of their business, but you say it politely. Don't say it brutally like I'm doing. It's none of their business. It's about me. If I fail, will it not be the end of me? And I'm saying no. If I fail, will that not be the end of me? And my answer is say no. Because failure is not the end of the story, but quitting is the end. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Failure is not the end, but quitting is.
The end.
And Oprah Winfrey once said, failure is a mistake. My voice is quite audible anyway. Failure is a mistake on trying to move to a different direction. I never lose, but I either win or learn. I either win or learn, so I don't fail. Readjust your beliefs. Don't just hold on to beliefs that are outdated, beliefs that are okay. The beliefs that are holding you back. Teach them. Then you'll be able to go to step out of this self-proclaimed comfort zone. Get rid of those beliefs that don't make sense. If you fill your thoughts with negativity, they will limit and hold back hold you back from infinite possibilities. Change your habits as they might have a propensity to stall your capabilities. And don't worry. Some of us, I mean, you had the introduction saying, look, some of us we have retired, plain retired. My plan was to retire at 58, but I decided to retire just a year or two before. So doesn't let it go. As you face challenges, brothers and sisters, do not harbor anger. Do not dwell much on what might have contributed to my disability. What could have caused my situation? I'm quite inspired by the woman somewhere in Middleburg who suffered the greatest degree of brain, acid attack by ex-husband, who thought maybe he has got a tight property ownership over that woman. She was burned beyond recognition. But one thing that inspired me is for her to say, I'm moving on. And she's now a motivational speaker like some of us. And making money. Did you hear that? Making money. Because if you want money, you've got to be an entrepreneur. And to make money, you've got to be in business. However, not all of us are entrepreneurs. Some might decide to go and work for government. But working for government, as the other people will say, you guarantee your own poverty. You hear that? Yes. I'm not saying you should not. But you should not go there hoping that you're going to be rich. Like a friend of mine somewhere, I think it was 1988 or so, when he got the position at University of Rand, I won't mention the name, on student affairs for that matter. And he said, look, look for my university administrator. If you want money, corruption. Just a motivational speaker. But the God was a brutal honesty that it's good. Let it go. Anger kills the inner person. No matter the severity of the hurt and personal damage inflicted to us, we should be able to say, let it go. In conclusion, if you don't let it go, I will tell you, hate has caused a lot of problems in the world. But it has not even solved one situation. Take, for example, the Palestine and Israel conflict. It has been there for ages. I will argue to say everyone is genius. But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing it is stupid. Because it was not ever made to climb trees. Its own place of domicile is in the water. Life will never be a bed of roses. For as long as I live, I owe it to myself to make things work right for me. I owe it to myself to work things right work for me. As people living with disabilities, listen to this. We are capable and we are able to make meaningful contributions to society and the economy. Design your future. Continue to form chapters of activism to enhance your slogan. Nothing about us without us. You don't owe anybody an apology.
Amen.
Form and participate. Remember, form and participate in the activism and become an activist for change. Get involved in business. Spell out what you want to achieve in life. You can use many approaches. One that we know, we call it BHAG. B-H-A-G. For those that have got a pen, you can write. One of the tool that happens to help many people who want to change their lives is the ability to design what you want to become. And the BHAG approach is one of the many tools that you can use. B stands for big, hairy, audacious goal. Big, hairy meaning choice. Audacious goal. So one of the things that limits our development is that we just want to be on the law of average. I've seen and I've experienced that. You should not fall into that trap. Find out what interests you most. Have the passion to pursue the dream. I didn't start with this because every motivational speaker, believe in yourself, have the dream and all those things. If they're not substantiated by action-related plan, they're just a collection of the English words. At the end, they mean absolutely nothing. I want to end by saying, which I started when I said I was working on one presentation and the call came. Then I was able to move from the sphere, the thinking of that presentation to do this presentation for you. The last one, if you forget everything, you need to have agility. Agility, the ability to think quickly when situations demands. You have heard many people saying, no, you need to have plan A and plan B, and I'm saying add plan C. Huh? No, I need to have plan A and plan B just in case. And I'm saying add even C. But the difference is that sometimes the situation is not predictable. You'll be caught off guard, and which will require you to be agile so that you can remain relevant and pursue what you want to become. I wish you well in your future endeavors. Remember, control your own destiny, or someone else will.
Yeah. What a wow.
If that someone controls, it will take you to the place where you don't want to be. And whose fault will be? It will not be the... Can you say it, my sister?
Mine.
Yes, just give her a round of applause for that. Friends, it was a pleasure for me to come and share with you. If life gives you lemon, make lemonade. I thank you. I don't know what is the arrangement. I can take, I can field questions if you do have comments and the like. I'll be around, but yeah.